In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew an overlap pants. This is a very highly requested tutorial. So if you're part of people that requested for this tutorial, then this one is for you. I'll be showing you how to go about it, it's a very, very simple pant to make. It's mostly slash and spread, but just with some details here and there. So I'll be showing you that and how to go about it, as well as how many yards you are going to need for this kind of pant. So if you're interested in that, let's get right into the video. For this part tutorial, I'm not going to be starting from pattern drafting because I want to believe that if you are a regular on my channel, even if this is your first time, you can check my previous video. Every single pant video I have done here, I have created or drafted a pattern for it. So please I can recommend some videos for you, but this is just a regular palazzo pants pattern. So the regular pattern that I usually draft, this is it, but I just added 1 inch at the hip for ease because the pant is not supposed to be very fitted. And yes, guys, this pattern I'm using for this tutorial was actually drafted by my student, one of my students. So this is like a proud teacher moment for me. If you're interested in learning proper pant making, I give personalized classes. So if you're interested, you can send me a message. So now for this pant pattern that we're going to be doing, we are going to have the right leg and the left leg. So I have drafted the front part of the pant and the back part of the pant. Now the front part has left and right obviously and is not the same. If you look at the design, you will see that one has the overlap detail while one of the legs is normal. So the first thing you need to do is determine which of the legs you want to be overlap and which of the legs would be normal. For this particular one, I'm making the right front leg the overlap detail, and then the left leg is going to be the normal pant leg that you know. So we're going to have two, but I'm going to use this pattern to cut the two because I don't want to stress you guys. You don't need to be drafting so many patterns, like two different patterns for the front. We're going to use one pattern to cut both legs. So just pay attention and you're going to get it. Now, this pattern that was drafted doesn't have the band, so we already removed 2 inches for band. So you see that if I'm measuring it from up minus the 2 inches, I have my correct hip measurement and my correct crouch length measurement. So please let your own be like that. You would also notice that this particular pattern doesn't have zip allowance like I usually do, because this pant is not going to have zip. So take note of that also. This is the fabric that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. It is crepe fabric. It's a fabric that is not too strong and not too soft, just somewhere in between, the right texture. Here I have 3 yards of this fabric. I bought 3 yards of the fabric, so by the time I'm done, I'll let you know how many yards or what is left of 3 yards. So I am a size 6. I'm between size 4 and 6. So if you're between that size, you should also know what you would be using. So between size 4 to size 8, 3 yards will be fine. And if you are bigger, you may want to add to the yards. So I am placing the front pattern on the material and cutting out. Remember I said you can see that it's written on the pattern that left is going to be the normal part and right leg is going to be the part that has the flap, the overlap. Now I'm cutting the left leg first with this pattern before we go ahead to do the overlap detail on the pattern. What I'm just doing is I'm leaving half inch at the crotch area, half inch at the waist area to join the waistband, 1 inch on both sides to join the same area. If you watch my tutorials normally, you would know that that's our normal allowance we leave for making pants. So this particular one is the left leg. I am writing with chalk. I'm writing with chalk that can clean when it's ironed on. So you take note of that. So I'm writing at the front of the pants. Now the next thing I'm going to do is cut the back of the pants. For the back, same thing I did. I pinned down on the fabric. You know, for the front, we cut it as single because we're also going to cut right differently. But for this back, we are cutting it as double because both the front, that's both the left and right, is going to be the same thing. So as usual, I'm leaving half an inch at the waist area, half an inch at the crotch area, no zip allowance, and then 1 inch at the side area to join and 1 inch at the crotch area to join. That's the same allowance. So after doing that, you just want to go ahead and cut. So now you have your back pattern, your two back patterns, that's for the left and right part of the back, and then you have your pattern for the left part of the front. So now we're done. We're going to use our pattern for the front to cut the right part for the front, which is going to have the overlap. So if you want to do this, the first thing you need to do is find your grain line. That's the midpoint on your crotch line. After getting the midpoint on your crotch line, I'm just going to different parts of the paper to get the midpoint. So I just calculated from that middle to the crotch area. Since when I drafted this, it was straight down, I'm just marking it. So what I'm basically doing is getting the midpoint of this whole leg. So the leg is straight. I did not really reduce it, so it's mostly equal. Now, I also want to get the midpoint for the upper area, and I'm not going to do the same thing I did and just take the midpoint. I need it to be equal from down to up. So what I'm going to do is, remember that we've already cut out the crotch for the upper area. I'm just going to put my ruler straight to more like replace what was cut out. So we're replacing what was cut out and taking the measurement again. So the same thing I took to my ruler is the same thing I will take there. Remember that that place is a bit empty, because when you are taking your normal pattern, when you are drafting your normal pattern, you are going to come in by half an inch at the crotch area. I just hope you understand what I mean. So I had to use my ruler to be able to take the midpoint so that it will be the same with the leg area. So after taking the midpoint, the next thing you want to do is slash this midpoint, because like I said before, this is basically slash and spread. That overlap part you see, there are two different ways of drafting this. You can either attach the overlap, or you can create it as a slash and spread. So I'm just coming up by about 4 to 5 inches from the lower part of my paper, from that the trouser length, and that's where I'm going to be slashing to. Or you can just slash it until you can open it fully, whichever one is more convenient for you. I think I ended up slashing it almost till the end so that I can spread it as much as I want. And now after slashing, the next thing we're going to do is determine how much spread we want. This is a slash and spread method. So we have slash, we want to determine how much spread we want. So for this, I had to bring my left leg back, because the overlap is going to be going towards the left leg. I brought back my left leg that I had already cut, so I can measure how much of lap I want, like how much I want it to lap on the left leg. So this particular method, this particular process, you don't have to use the exact inches, the exact number I used. You can look at what my own turned out to be and use what figure or what inches you feel like you would prefer. So I'm just pinning out my 1 inch allowance. We already left allowance on the material, so I'm pinning my 1 inch allowance. I'm pinning the crotch area half allowance before I know where I want my overlap to actually stop. So from that midpoint where I slashed, I'm measuring where I want my overlap to stop, and you can see that mine is about 9.5. I think it was about 9.5 from that place. So it means whatever I'm slashing and adding there should be up to 9 inches to meet this other place. I hope you understand what I mean. So if you know you don't want your own to meet at that edge, you can shorten your own, you can increase it. But I feel like this point is perfect. If you go more than that, you'd almost be meeting the seam of the pant. So now that we know that we need 9 inches, we need 9.5 inches to overlap. It means whatever you are slashing and spreading would be that 9.5 inches times two, because it's going to be folded before it overlaps. So if you decide that you measure from that midpoint and you decide, oh, you want your own to be up to 10, you want your own to be up to 12, whatever you're slashing and spreading, you're adding times two of whatever you want. If you do it like this, you would understand it better. So whatever we're slashing, we're adding after slashing, what we want to use to spread, we'll have to fold it into two before we lap. So if it is 9.5 inches I want, I would have to do that 9.5 inches times two. So by the time I fold it, it will become 9.5 inches to overlap. I hope you understand. If you don't, please ask questions and we would respond to you. So after spreading, I'm just trying to mark on the fresh paper that I put under where exactly I'm going to stop, so that when I move the paper, I would see the mark. So I went ahead to pin down. You can use your paper tape if you have that available, so that it doesn't just shift. So since I already have what I want, I pin down, and I'm just going to check to make sure it is correct. So this is what I mean, because we are going to fold it into two. That's why I did it times two. So at the end of the day, it's going to be folded like this and folded to the midpoint. So the two places where you slashed and spread, it has to meet each other back. So you fold the extra fabric or extra paper you are putting and overlap. I just hope you understand. So we're folding it and overlapping it towards the left area. As so this is the right pant now. We're going to fold it and lap it towards the left leg. So just to be sure that I was on the right track, because this was the first time I was attempting this particular pant, I had to bring the pattern we already cut out, the left leg, to overlap what we folded, just to make sure it's correct. Remember, I marked where I wanted it to be on the left pant leg. So after this whole thing, I just brought it back, and you see that it's exactly at that point. It's just a bit lower because we're still going to add band, but it's exactly at that point. So it means by the time I finish with this particular pattern and join it back, this is where it's going to be getting to after joining the crotch area. So you may want to just practicalize and just make sure yours is correct before you go ahead and cut it on your actual fabric. So now that I know that mine is at the exact point where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and use this to cut out the right leg for my front parts of this pant. So I'm just measuring again just to make sure whatever I have inside is accurate. Is that 9.5 divided by 2? Now the next thing we're going to do is cut on our fabric. The exact thing we did for the front and the back. We're going to leave 1 inch on both sides for allowance. We're going to leave half an inch at the crotch area and half an inch at the waist area to join the waistband to it. So notice that I am notching the points that we are going to overlap. So I'm notching the midpoint, the new midpoint. I'm notching the two original midpoints. So remember that we slashed and spread midpoint. So now we have like three different points, because once we pick this middle, the other 2 points are supposed to meet. So please, and please notch yours so that when it's time to overlap it, it's not going to be confusing you. You're not going to start looking for, oh, where's my overlap going to be? So make sure you notch. So after doing this, I just went ahead to remove my pin. And at this point, I always say that if you have your weaving machine, it's also advisable to weave before you start sewing your pants. It just gives it this neat look even before you start sewing. So if we are overlapping, this is what it's going to look like. I picked the 3 points together, and this is basically what it's going to look like. So I'm going to take it to my weaving machine and weave before I start joining. I also went ahead to cut pockets for this one because the previous one did not have pockets, and I did not like that so much. So if you want to know how to cut pockets properly, you can check my previous videos. Next thing I'm going to do is join the crotch area for the front and join the crotch area for the back. So the crotch area for the front, you're using half an inch to sew. Crotch area for the back, you're also using half an inch to sew. Remember that there is no zip in this pant. I think that's one of the reasons why I love this pant. No need for zip. So after joining the front and back crotch, this is what it looks like. Next thing I'm going to do is join the sides and the crotch area. So look at the pocket looking all clean. So I always say, please iron when you are making your pants. Literally when you're making any clothes, but especially pants, iron as you sew. That's how you're going to see the beauty, and it's not going to look rough while you are sewing. Now, after ironing and pressing all the seams down, I'm going to join the front to the back. I always love joining my crotch area first before I join the side. I don't know if any other person does this, but it's something I do that has worked for me over the years. And for people that always complain that one leg is longer than one by the time you finish joining, it's because you're not pinning correctly. You're supposed to pin the crotch area and pin the lower part before you pin the middle, or just simply pin the lower part, pin the crotch area, or pin the upper part, pin the lower part, and sew. That way you would know that you are sewing and no one is going to be longer than anyone by the time you are done. I'm going to go ahead and sew it, and after sewing, this is what it looks like. So we are literally done. The only thing left is to put band in this pants and we are done. This pant was very, very simple to make. Funny enough, it looked complicated, but it's like one of the simplest pants I've made so far. So the next thing we're going to do is put band. The reason why I did not measure our band or cut our band from the beginning like I do for other videos or for other tutorials is because we are not putting band in every part of this waist. If we decide to put band every part of this waist, when we overlap it, it's going to be bulky at the overlap area. So not every part of this pants, not every part of this waist is going to have band. So please just watch how I do this. But this is like one of the most important parts of this tutorial. So please watch it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, you see the edge from we notch the midpoint and two other points at that right leg. So I'm going to pick the midpoint and measure like 3 to 3.5 inches and pin down. That place is going to be sewn. Just please watch it attentively. Now our band is going to start from the middle of the left leg. It will go round to the back area and stop at where you pinned. That's at that overlap area. You know, I said pin the midpoint, come in by like 3.5 inch and pin. That's where your band is going to stop. Now, you see this part that I'm losing at the center front and I'm folding, that place is not going to have band, so we're just going to fold it. So the only place that will have band is from the midpoint of the left area where it does not have the overlap. The band is going to go round to the back area and come to the front to stop at the overlap place where we pinned. So just watch I am fixing the band. It's a little bit tricky, but I believe it will be easy to understand if you pay close attention. So the part that are not going to have band, I'm just pinning that place down because we're going to take it to our machine and sew. Another thing I want you to take note of is that midpoint that I'm pinning down. Please and please make sure that whatever you have left after pinning the midpoint of the overlap is enough to pass through your hip. So it will determine whatever you're using to slash and spread. Because I used up to 9, that's why I did not need zip. If you're using less than 9, maybe as small as 5 overlap, which I feel like it will be too small, then it may not be able to pass your hip by the time you are done, so you may need zip. But if you're going to use up to 9 like I did, it will definitely pass your hip no matter how big your hip is, because whatever you have, you are going to be expanding the waist to pass your hip. So now the next thing we're going to do is cut the band, and I will show you exactly how to fix the band. But don't forget that from that 3 inches point that I pinned, we're going to fold and sew that place to the center front. Yeah, just like this. Look at what I did here. I pinned it and sewed it to the center front like this. So that place that I have pinned down, that I have sewn to the center front, is not going to have a band. The remaining places are the places that are going to have band. So now that we have folded that part off, what we are going to do next is measure the remaining parts that will need band. What I'm just doing, because I folded those points, it kind of covered my notches. So I am marking it with chalk. Remember that we have 3 notch please. We already sewed the midpoint by 3 inches in. So that place, we already know that that's the midpoint. But the other 2 notches, we're going to mark it with a chalk so it doesn't get lost while we are sewing. So after you've done these steps, the next thing you do now is to measure the remaining parts for our band. After you folded midpoint to the 3 inches towards the overlap, so you just check what you have left, and that's what we're going to use to cut our band. So what I need for band, what I left earlier for band is 2 inches, and on fold I'm cutting 2 inches plus half that we would use to sew to the waist. So on fold I cut 2.5 inches, and then whatever I had left at the waist area is what I used to cut my band. So the next thing you want to pay attention for is how to fix the band. Just look closely. So I'm going to start fixing my band from that midpoint of the overlap. The overlap now, that's where I'm going to start. We had 3 notches, so that midpoint notch, I'm going to start pinning my band. Remember, we joined 3 to 3.5 inches together, so it's together. So I'm going to pin my band on it, and then I'm going to go around towards the back area. So just that 3 inches where we pinned is what's going to be together on the band. The rest part are going to be single. I also hope if you are doing the tutorial, or if you are doing this process, I'm sure you would understand it better when you are faced with it. So I'm just pinning it round towards the back area to the midpoint of the front. So it's going from the midpoint of the overlap round to the back area to the midpoint of the front. So the only place that will be left is that point from the midpoint towards the overlap where we folded earlier. So after joining, this is what it's going to look like. And then the way you fix your band normally, I'm going to turn it towards the front, sew 1/2 inch and turn it back. So this particular process now is not complicated. It's just the normal when you fix band on trouser. So it's like I'm turning it. You know when you want to fix your zip, you now turn it and sew and then turn it back. That's basically what I'm just doing, just to give it like a neat finishing instead of just the regular with the edges. I hope you understand what I mean. So after doing that, this is what's going to look like. I'm turning it towards the back. When you are sewing your band, you're going to sew like right side facing right side, and then you turn it towards the back. So this is it. I'm just trying to make sure my band is 2 inches, it's accurate before I go ahead and sew. So at this point, you can take it to your ironing board and use hem gum to hold it down before we go ahead and sew. But this is like the neatest way. I'm showing you my band secret, you guys. This is like the neatest way to do your band. So after pressing it with hem gum, this is what it's going to look like. And then we're going to go ahead and sew on top. But you need to sew it in a way that it will not be visible. Look at it. If you zoom, guys, I already sewed this thing, but it is not visible. Can you see? It wasn't visible because I used invisible thread to do this. Invisible thread, that's what you use when you are sewing your waistband and the length of the pant, that's the hem of the pant under, and the waistband. Invisible thread, look how neat it is. You will not see a single thread, guys. This is what I used for the band. So you can adopt this means and it's going to be a game changer for the neatness of your pants. So after sewing the hem and the band, all that is left is to put either press buttons or actual buttons on your pant. Remember that this pant doesn't have zip, so what will literally be holding together will be buttons or press buttons. For me, I decided to use press buttons because I feel like it was just less stress for me. So just watch closely what I'm doing. Press buttons are going to stay in three different parts of this pant. First, the place that is going to join the overlap together. Second, somewhere around the middle, that's the midpoint, because after joining the overlap, you need to fasten the middle of the pant. And then last place is going to be the edge of the overlap. Just look at the places I'm pinning. So the first part is going to be where the overlap meets. The second part is going to be the center front of the pant with another part of the overlap. And the third place is going to be the edge of the overlap with close to the pocket area where it's going to lap. If you arrange it on a flat surface, you will just easily be able to see the points that will need press buttons. So if this is confusing for you, you can also wear the pants just to make sure you know the exact point you're putting press button. But it's simple. You're going to have to put the overlap together first. Then at the edge of the overlap, there will be one press button, and there has to be one button or press button at the midpoint, because remember the band is starting from there. We can't just leave it flying like that. So after you have put in your three press buttons, your pant is ready and set to wear. Let me know if any of this was confusing for you, and I will try my best to explain it properly to you in the comment section. But other than that, let's try on the pants and see what the finished look is like. So this is it. So the first part that press button would be, that's the place I was trying to explain where the overlap is supposed to meet, that midpoint where you separated before. The second should be another point of the overlap to the middle of the center front of the pant, and the last place should be the edge of the overlap close to the pocket where you are lapping it to. I feel like I'm saying lap 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 a lot, but just hope you understand what I mean. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, share it to others it may be helpful to, and subscribe. If you have questions in the comment section, don't hesitate to ask your questions. And if you also have video suggestions, the videos you would like to see next on this channel, let us know in the comment section. See you in my next video. Until then, keep winning.